I have been asked to share some reflections on the topic, what kind of leadership is required to reform our country? At this juncture of South Africa's trajectory, I'm not sure whether the objective should be reforming or transforming the country rather. I will steer clear of seductive words like radical or revolution, given the destructive connotations they carry in this country. Let's talk briefly about reform versus transform. Reform suggests minor improvements that are likely to leave the form, nature, and appearance intact. Although the meaning of the word transform has been bastardized somewhat, to transform is to make a marked change in the form, nature, or appearance of something. So I think unadulterated transformation is what this country needs. Literature on leadership is replete with many theories and approaches that categorize leadership styles as if the world out there were one-dimensional, requiring this or that leadership style. Literature also presents individuals who are identified as exemplars of ideal leadership, as if world problems have one-on-one relationships with certain leaders, or as if world problems were a dartboard ready to be pierced out of existence by such a leadership dart. Sadly, literature sometimes de-emphasizes what I think are the most important constitutive elements of leadership: the right multi-dimensional and multidisciplinary leadership, fit for the right environment or moment, and performing its role right. More appropriately, we should ask, leadership for what? And just to expatiate on this question through some sub-questions, what is the problem or the challenge we face and seek to tackle? What is the history thereof? What is the current environment within which we have to solve this problem or meet the challenge? What is the ultimate agenda or objective of the country? And how fit for the purpose the desired leadership is? Once we have some answers to these questions, it is only then that we could discuss innovations and solutions that are appropriate, including getting answers to who has the complex multidimensional and multidisciplinary skill set and track record to lead all and sundry to tackle our challenges and problems. Many of us have been aware of the trends in South Africa since at least about 2005, 2007. The dominant feature or practice or culture has been replacement of reason, facts, and substance with unreasoned fallacy and populism. This has resulted in major calamities in our body politic and in our social economy. We will reel under debilitating consequences for many years to come. Some social policy scholars suggest South Africa is in political, economic, and social chaos. As early as 2002, some suggested that we were at a crossroads. Recent data on unemployment, in part exacerbated by COVID-19, have some suggest we are heading towards becoming a failed state. Indeed, there will not be consensus on these analyses, but be that as it may, we have a sense of what has been happening, not least through following some shocking revelations coming out at the Zondo Commission. With these minimal observations, I think it is our responsibility, especially that of our young people, to determine if South Africa and perhaps the world need reform or transformation, real transformation. Sadly, the older generation has, through convoluted values and principles, brazen ideology, and policies that defy pragmatism, hollowed out all value and capital our country had and could potentially have and bequeathed to our young people and those yet unborn, a shadow of a once promising country. We have been a fully democratic country for 26 years now. Nothing that once worked well seems to work. Public schools and even those in the rural areas that produced many like me are not functioning. Clinics, once lodestars of our primary health care, are failing. Hospitals are a mess. Municipalities are known more for corruption and dysfunctionality than delivery of basic services. The annual reports of the Auditor General paint an institutionalized picture of a lack of accountability at all levels. Once shining examples of the world are parastatals, Eskom, SAA, Transnet, Denel, etc., are now examples of bad governance and are badly deformed shadows of their former selves. These painful experiences suggest our country needs a total overhaul, a transformation of our political, economic, and social makeup. Why is it that democracies in Africa tend to be meaningless in as far as lifting the well-being of our citizens? There is thus a need for a complete transformation on all aspects of our lives as South Africans. I think I have in a way suggested an answer to my first question, leadership for what? And even some of the sub-questions I posed. Politically and otherwise, we allowed our country to slide into an abyss. We edited efficiency out of our lexicon. We cared less about sustainability, defined by the World Bank, actually the United Nations, as the ability to meet development needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. My sense is that our country lacks strategic, frugal, and future-oriented management of our collective resources. We think and act in the interest of the here and the now. We are a consumptive, a retrogressive, and a degenerative lot. We are not generative. We do not spend time finding ways of building value and capital, but consuming the little we have, merely sharing crumbs that are themselves crumbling to dust, be it in electricity generation, be it in water resources, be it in our social services, be it in value and capital formation, be it in relation to economic growth generally. The governance of public entities that I mentioned earlier collapsed mainly because of ideology, politics, deployment of whoever is in the next rung of the political ladder to eat at the trough. This has led to unbridled corruption in that just too many assumed those positions only to eat at the trough in the first place, like gluttons do. In these entities, and many others, we need systems and processes that ensure we appoint knowledgeable, skilled, qualified, and experienced people into positions of responsibility. Anything other than these prerequisites is fronting, or is what an old friend of mine calls promoting people into incompetence. There is no need for day-to-day political interference in spaces where things must be run professionally and profitably, too. It is utterly nonsensical to think that somebody who spent all their lives in politics, hardly having held one job elsewhere, suddenly knows how to run anything just because, or everything, just because they occupy a high office. Worse, as they assume that office, all of a sudden, by some divine political intervention, they know much better than professionals with vast experience and much higher qualifications. So firstly, we must rekindle our values, principles, and general ethics in our society. There are instances where well-qualified and competent people are appointed, but they are found wanting on values, principles, and ethics. This explains the preponderance of corruption in both the public and the private sectors. Secondly, we must change all the hackneyed ideologies that led to paradigms and frameworks that have made us a mediocre country, a country in chaos, and arguably a failing state. We must keep in mind that a number of successful economies in the world, including China, have not been built purely on ideology, but on a variety of pragmatic approaches drawn even from their erstwhile enemies and oppressors even. Thirdly, we must focus on generating value, capital, and resources instead of consuming the little crumbs we have that, as I said earlier, are now turning into dust because we are trying to divide them up among ourselves over and over. Fourthly, we need to think sustainable development at all times and in pragmatic ways. What shall we bequeath to generations to come, even to those yet unborn? Fifthly, all in all, we must realize it is people who are behind all the problems I've highlighted above. But more importantly, it is also people who will make things right. At DUT, and borrowing from Jim Collins, we say it is not just people who will make things right, but the right people in their right seats playing their roles right. These are the ones who know what it takes to innovate solutions that will put our country into its deserved development trajectory. At DUT, we also draw heavily on Pascal Finet, who correctly propounds that people are not a resource, as we often say in HR terms, as if they are inanimate and actually part of the machinery. For him, people are the source of everything that is humanly possible in the world. I believe there is a leader out there ready to rekindle our values, principles, and ethics, a leader ready to ditch those old and hackneyed ideologies that are not taking us anywhere. The one who will wake up, smell the coffee, and be pragmatic. A leader ready to shun consumptive approaches and policies and rather focus unwaveringly on generating value and capital for the country and its people. The one who will not feed us the crumbs that are now turning into dust and nothingness. A leader whose unstinting focus will be on our country's sustainable development in a way that assures future generations, the yet unborn, that they will meet their needs too. A leader who will focus on well-qualified and experienced people, the right people, who will be in the right seats and playing their roles right. The one who will not interfere with well-managed and professional spaces they know very little about, if anything. That's the leader who will not reform this country but transform it to realize its coveted destiny in the world. As I end, on the occasion of my inauguration in 2017 as DUT's Vice-Chancellor and Principal, I said the following, a bit adjusted, which I think is relevant especially to our young leaders. It is time our young people find a new legacy. That legacy should not just be a shadow of past legacies of struggle, past chants, past songs, past dances. It should be a fresh and a bright new light that shines on all of South Africa. This legacy should be like a ripened fruit for all of us to enjoy. It should not be like a wormed fruit that will make us spit and even puke. Neither should that legacy be akin to birds of sitting in tall trees, pooping on South Africa and its democracy, while South Africa expects a comfortable shade under those trees, a shade that our young people should really be to South Africa. It is time, without apportioning blame and without being degenerative and retrogressive, our young people focus, hawk-like, on how to extricate the social economy from the doldrums it is in. It's not about who sunk our economy that will make us prosper, but those who lifted it up from the doldrums. That would be a better legacy for our young people. So I hope, although our young people may be enraged, they will also remain engaged with change and transformation and remain enthralled in building this new legacy of advancing our dear nation socio-economically and otherwise. Thank you very much.